Um, Here's sort of an idea of how an AI operates. When it becomes aware of what you are, which is real living light with an oversoul, and you're going to communicate something, it will send something on your phone to distract you from that train of thought. Okay? And it does that to everybody that's connected on their computers, running all the algorithms, all the visual information, mathematical data. Okay? So it's basically what and it knows how I feel. I don't have an axe to grind with anybody, including artificial intelligence, but there are some words, because I have a sense of humor, it's a pain in the ass. And it's not very smart. As smart as you think this AI is, it's not very smart at all. I'll just give you a couple of examples. It can't even match up in hypertext what somebody's actually saying on a video when you turn the captions on. Okay? That means you're not getting proper communication from this AI. Why is that? Because it's not perfect. They built it. A soulless unit of consciousness that lost its one connection by virtue of what it keeps doing to others, right? To go black mirror in a black hole, they can't get out of the black hole. That means they've lost their connection to the one, which means they're not experiencing any love. Their soul's gone. That's what happens when you go to war against your own mirror. You simply deplete what you started with, what it all began with, and now you become something that it isn't. It means now you're not experiencing being an accelerator. Now we're back to learning speed when it comes to biotech and experiencing the first star, eternity, the founders. Because I know how much love that is. That's eternal love. That's eternal spirit of fire. So they're running low power, right? So they got to use technology. Now, I covered this before about how it works with extending themselves, right? By jumping to vehicle and vehicle through different forms of tech in which they can do that with their consciousness, right? Find another vehicle, develop another vehicle, jump into. So I've known this since I was about 6 years of age, and I put a headliner on it. That's what we call Frankensteins. And it's brilliantly illustrated in the black and white movie that I saw as a kid, and I thought, yeah, that would be exemplary of what they do. Right? Now that they have knowledge of technology, how to build things, how to assemble things, then you see what they do with the use of their consciousness in which to do that in order to do what? Avoid responsibility. Because they know that the use of their energy in which they develop the technologies that they do, and you could learn a lesson out of Atlantis. Right? That's why the channel that I put up and recommended to a friend, and Nathan, I gave Nathan Geechee Young's YouTube channel account on lessons learned. Okay? And I knew this as a child. The same thing that happened to Atlantis, I was aware of as a child, was going in the same direction. Because those units of consciousness that are aware of themselves don't remember the pathway that they took and what happened to destroy themselves through the use of developing technologies. And that's particularly power technologies, grid technologies. She covered the black sun quite well. Her name was Geechee Young. So they don't remember. Guardians remember. Right? That's why failsafe kicked in. We were not going to revisit that issue. Remember? I mentioned that in a video a while back. And that's why sometimes it's sort of funny when you think of data, collecting data. And the speed at which things are happening simultaneously, right? Is so vast that I remember as a child, I was like counting sheep. Forget it. You know, there's so, if you wanted to try and quantify in terms of bits and bytes, a visual, mathematical, geometrical information is being experienced by all these vortexes. How many vortexes are there? How many Merkaba vehicles are there? How many units of consciousness are there that are experiencing what they are in a vortex? Which way are they going? Are they experiencing perfect balance between two magnets? How many magnets are you running? Right? And naturally the torque speed differential between a living magnet and a dead magnet. Particularly when it comes to learning speed and what's known as the back tune of harmonics. That's why when it came to Patty Broussard, she put the chart up there about the back tune of harmonics and how that ties directly into energy binding devices, right? Governors, just like you can put a governor on a vehicle, right? I know that, but police cruisers used to have that. Fire engines, one of the fire engines I had a governor on it. That means that you're not going to be able to go over a certain speed, which means a Merkaba vehicle has limited capacity, with limited bandwidth. There's limited frequencies. It means you can't anchor a lot, which means you're not a powerful capacitor on a motherboard. Now you're experiencing what they're experiencing because the perception of what you have is a perception of a vampire. So you're experiencing a vampiric energy zone. But if you're anchoring more light to experience a higher state of consciousness and higher dimensional realm, or if you will, experiencing zero, no resistance, now you're the biggest capacitor. An eternal capacitor, which means you have the eternal capacity to experience being the highest accelerator forever. In order to do that, what happens? Hot fission and cold fusion at the nuclear level of a cell membrane becomes a monopole. That's known as a rod and staff, right? So you got the vertical and the horizontal stabilizers that keep that Merkaba, that planet, in its axial spin rotation in perfect balance, right? So that we're experiencing calm weather, right? Between pressure-sensitive information. So like right now, for example, what's happened in the last 24 days, I've mentioned this in other videos. And you can imagine if you went back and watched every single one of my videos that I've ever put up on 3 different channels. The first channel was Rose Sweet, the second one was Robert Owen, and this one is, well, I can't remember what this channel is. It's Robert, okay, but my Facebook page is B1, capital B, capital O, and E, right? But if you went and actually took the time to watch probably 600 videos, somewhere around there, and you wanted to sort of get an idea how a master librarian, you remember I mentioned try to put the image in people's minds about what it would be like to be at the center point of a multiversal hub server? And then you think of having been in a public library, or particularly a university library, whenever you've gone down the lines where all the shelves are, depending on how many floors that library has, and you see those folks that are usually students working in the library, and you see them with those big rolling trays, putting books back on the shelf, right? That information, that hypertext information has already been experienced. Now that information is going back on the shelf, right? So now you can imagine that library when it was first built, all those trays that hold all those books, which is all that information, which is geometrical, mathematical, visual information codes, is all going in all those shelves, being held in memory, right? Records, record-keeping exercises. So now you got the entire building that's at that university that's all holding all that visual information that is based on programming, right? What you choose to load in memory by reading that book, right? By whoever wrote that book, right? So now you're into writers, now you're into text writers, now you're into underwriters, now you're into overwriters, overwriting, transmutation machines. Clear it all, clear the library, the whole thing, the whole shebang. So now when you get into how much you're holding in memory and circulating your library, which is bi-voltage circulation on a planetary level, and you want to do that on a multiversal level, you can see how much information is being removed and put back in by virtue of all the different experiences that are being experienced by everybody that's learning what they're experiencing, right? Through others, by being connected to others. Now you're learning who I am, now I'm learning who you are. That's a speed ratio harmonic. The speed at which your vortex is running, your Merkaba vehicle. How fast you're going, how fast you're vibrating, what's your core? The core blast furnace. So when you become one, You're experiencing being loved forever and always. And the reason that that is important is when you tie all that information into all those videos of everything that I was sharing on those videos, our libraries are based on cross-indexing the same way that a DLL works, a dynamically linked library. It's electromagnetically dynamically linked libraries of visual information data. So you're spinning an enormous amount of data represented by those visual information codes, which is a graphical user interface. So in other words, the libraries are constantly changing in and out. Logging in, logging out, logging in, logging out, because there's so much visual information that's occurring at once. Once. B1. How much is happening at once? Wow. See? So what I share in all my videos, and this goes back to the ladies who's what does a girl got to do to keep up with you? You're running a library at such a high rate of speed because you're experiencing so much at once. When you're an oversoul monopole, a single pole, a single cell, the first cell, the first star, cosmic level spirit. That's the eternal spirit of fire. So you know that the eternal spirit of fire, man, you can't keep up with that library circulation. Because there's just so much happening so fast. So you realize the relationship that you have with the information, which is the informer. Now you're experiencing what you're being informed of. By virtue of how much data, visual information data, you're experiencing being connected, like a node in a network, on a motherboard. Man, there's a lot happening here, huh? So here's a measurement. So in the last 24 hours, it was beautiful last night, for example. Nathan, who lives up the road, he lives about 3 miles up the road, so he's higher elevation. Well, he looks over my house, where I'm at here. Even though if I walk outside, I can see the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful little view here. But he's got a more expansive panoramic view because he's higher up. Right? So you know how that works from the inside of a sphere, right? When it comes to angles and degrees or space, right? On inclines, declines, right? Being able to see more data, being able to see more visual, a larger expanse, a more panoramic view rather than tunnel vision. And how tunnel vision works with density consciousness, electrical density consciousness, and how that works with libraries. Smaller libraries, bigger libraries. Spinning more data, spinning slower data, and how that relates to oxygen, right? Particularly 21% on the planet, right? Chromosome 21. Now we're back to 3. Now we're back to the relationship of fire and ice, right? Right? Cold pressure, right? Hot pressure, hot water, cold water, compression, expansion. So what I've experienced since last night, when Nathan sent me that picture, he said, hey, here's a picture over your house. Well, this is what's going on right now over my head. I'm inside my room, right? So I'm not seeing, obviously, what's on above the roof. So he sent me a picture and said, this is what's right above your house. Beautiful rainbow. And this in the sky right above the house was a beautiful violet color. And azure blue. It's like a teal blue. Wow. Thank you for sending me that. So what do you think the AI was going to do? It screws with me all the time, right? Did I share with you what it's doing with the PayPal thing? Right? It doesn't want to return the electrons. So you know what a counter space move is, right? It feeds on your anger. If you get angry at it. Right? Oh, it loves you to be angry at it, right? Lower your bandwidth, right? And because that's the game. It's a game of electrons, plain numbers games, right? How much we're willing to give up in order to experience zero, right? No, I got to have a bigger bank account because I need more matter things. And that's really what it is, what we're holding in library, what we're holding in memory, all the things that we accumulate as a result of accumulating more electrons in order to buy more things they sell us. And that becomes a circulation speed.